It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielsen, Matt Cassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Two Guys and a Goalie, brought to you by our great partners at CoolBet. 3 games in the NHL tonight. If you want to bet them, you can hop over at CoolBet National Championship Basketball game as well as March Madness wraps up. And you can find that, obviously, in pretty much every other thing you want to bet on in sports over at CoolBet. Use the code 2GUYS, number 2 in the word guys, when you sign up all on the Nielsen Media CoolBet Network. Welcome back, Cass. How you doing, buddy? How's the United States of America?
It's good, man. It's good. It's in the 80s out there today, which means like something in the 20s back home. So it's beautiful outside. Got some good reading time. The grandparents took the kids to the parks, so just went and sat outside and read a little bit this morning. And
wow, that's rare nowadays, isn't it?
yeah. Chipped away a little bit of work. I didn't want to get, as for a lot of us, business never stops. So chipped away a little bit at some work stuff today, just to make sure I'm not too far behind. But it was good just to sit outside, and we've got some golf in, which has been great. It's just been a solid trip. Some real Southern food, which has also been another blessing. So we had a whole swath of barbecue. I didn't send it to you guys. I'll send you guys a picture, but the barbecue down here is just fantastic. So
we love those barbecue pics. Yeah.
Oh, so good. So good.
Jealous. You obviously bailed on Gager and I last Thursday to golf with your father-in-law. Did you have a good round at least? Like, that's a big sacrifice to leave us by ourselves here. So yeah.
Yeah, it was I was okay. Like because I didn't bring my normal clubs, so I was using rentals, which is always challenging because my clubs are normally lengthened just because I'm so tall. So you're trying to figure out like your swing's a little bit different with some of the clubs from a length standpoint. So my driver actually felt great, like was getting off the tee really well, hitting the ball well that way. It took a little while for the touch to come around. So had a couple pars, I think 2 birdies, a couple pars,
2 birdies,
number of bogeys.
Who are you, Corey Connors? Jeez,
I almost had back-to-back birdies too. I would have freaked out if I would have had, but the touch game struggled. So, I mean, for as much as I had a couple pars and a couple birdies, I had more than a few double bogeys along the way as well. There was once or twice it was like just trying to chip it on the green, like where I was off. One time in the bunker where it was just trying to get it out, and I think it took 3 shots to get it out, like where it was just
go, hey, what's
nasty.
that, and then throw it out when nobody's looking.
Basically, but it was fun. I mean, just to get out golf a little bit in March, hey, I'll take it. So it was fun.
Gager, any you hit the links this weekend or no? Nothing?
You know what I was doing this weekend.
It was race week, of course. Week, yeah. I was telling Gager before, this is how sick we are. I spent like 15 minutes before we started doing this, looking at not just my F1 teams, which are both shitting the bed right now, but all the top end F1 teams, and it's Aston Martin and it's Red Bull. Like the teams, basically everybody's got them, and I've been trying to get creative. I don't know, Gager. I feel like McLaren right now. Like I'm going to shut her down and start planning for next year. This is awful.
No, I think it all depends. Like, because you got to watch it with the chips that you add. Because if you put your chip on someone and they do poorly, it's negative points, right? So all it takes is like one race, and some of the top guys could drop way out. So there's different chips. I'll probably have to put a video together of what they all mean, because a lot of guys, I don't think I've used one so far.
I would appreciate that. I would appreciate that video. Yeah.
You know what, Gager? Just as a comment, I didn't like your timing use of the one. I didn't like the timing.
Oh,
I know it jumped you up the standings there, and you did well. Like you put it on Verstappen. It was a good choice. Your number 2 pick, I think you had Chico with your number 2 pick, so that was a good choice.
It worked well.
So I like that. So my big question here, Gager, is with that chip, I'm saving mine for a sprint weekend because there's more points to be had on a sprint weekend. So my thought is, if you can get one of those guys in a big weekend, then we'll see. But one comment on that, one thing I didn't like with the way they changed the rules this year was it makes for less team change. Like you're having to move guys around less. Like I've basically moved my 5th driver. I've changed him, and that's it. Like it kind of discourages editing your teams, which I think makes it tougher for people to get back into it too. So I don't know,
Well, then
but
they
it's
use
still
the
been
wild
fun.
card. Use the wild card and switch it completely around, right? If it's
Right. Yeah,
going
which is
really
fair.
bad. But the sprint weekend, it can be great, but it can also just kill you if things
could
don't
crush
go
you too.
right.
Yeah.
So I just
Fair.
felt the reasoning behind was I thought the Red Bull power unit, there wasn't going to be any failures that weekend. Looked like they were both going to finish the race. They were cruising. So, but it was only one of my teams, but I cratered this weekend. Just the Alpines.
I had Albin on a team. So
yeah. And he was
cratered.
looking great, though. He was.
That's why I decided to go. They're making good in that Williams machine. All right, that's Pit Stop Pals cross promo. If you've not yet subscribed to the Pit Stop Pals podcast with Gager and I, make sure you do that right away. All right, Edmonton Oilers. Guys, I didn't think I'd say this, but back-to-back shutouts. First two of the year. One for Skinner, one for Jack Campbell. Gager, let's go to you first, our goalie here, and two guys and a goalie. Your thoughts on what's happened the last couple of games?
Well, I think we already talked about how brilliant Skinner was in that game. But when you look at Jack Campbell, I love the fact that he, in the prior two games that he played, they were scrappy games. And I know that he allowed 4 goals in each of those games, but he did battle. And the main thing was he got the win and could feel good about himself that way, right? I think the most important thing going into that game against the Ducks was, that emotional hangover that the Oilers probably had from the previous 2 games and trying to get up for the Ducks. I was kind of thinking that first period would be a telltale sign of how it was going to go for them completely. And the most important thing for Jack was to just have a game where he played a huge part in getting those 2 points. And I think that happened. That first period, he made some great saves that allowed the Oilers to score first. And once they did score that first goal, it rolled from there. But I think it was a big deal for Jack, just having a game that he was not only a big part in, but also and then getting the shutout, exactly what the Oilers need before they hit the playoffs.
Yeah,
well,
what do you think it does for him? Yeah, what's this do for him?
Exactly what he needed.
Yeah,
exactly what he needed. We've talked about that time and time again the last couple of weeks, that for Jack Campbell, he just needed something to build his confidence. Even in games when he looked like he was playing okay, you'd have the double bounce off skates and pucks in the net off of, I think it was Ekholm, the one, like where you'd have these bad bounces that just nothing he could do, but it still just doesn't look good and doesn't help you at all mentally. And he comes out, and yes, it was against Anaheim, but he, as you said, Gager, makes some saves in that first period, and he was right there. Like he was right there and playing and confidence building, and to build up some steam for him heading into the playoffs is great. I think, based on Stuart Skinner's play against LA, how can you not start this guy in the playoffs? Playing like if he shows up like that. And we also have to remember he's had some playoff success before, not in the NHL at the NHL level, but he's not a guy that's unaccustomed to big games or to showing up in those moments. So, the goaltending tandem last couple of games has looked really good. I love that they ultimately just stomped on Anaheim, because it was like, hey, we're not messing around at the same time. And I know emotionally it probably was difficult, especially in that first period, to get up for it, but they basically rose to the challenge in that too. And now you're getting another game here coming up against LA where Skinner's going to be fired up about that. LA is going to be fired up, and it's just going to set the table for another playoff-like atmosphere, exactly like that LA game that we saw before. But for Campbell, this was huge. This was just huge for his confidence.
Well, and it varies person to person. But Gager, for a goalie, you could maybe, I don't know, if you lose your confidence with one bad game, do you get it back with one good one? Like, how do you manage? What does one good start do for you? Because I know a lot of people say, Campbell's had a career where his hot streaks are longer than other guys' hot streaks, but his struggles extend a little bit longer. Can one game sort of flip that switch and he's like, I'm back, baby? Like, how do you view that?
It helps in the preparation for games, because when things are going poorly, you're going, okay, what do I have to do to change these things? So I think just over the last little bit, his preparation towards each game can be maybe a little bit more monotonous and doing the same things because he's getting the results that he's needed. And sometimes that can even help you. I don't think it's just it's just one game, but it can help with, okay, I did play well. I did this right. This is how I did certain things to get me ready for that next game. So that can help. But to really get rolling and start looking like Stuart Skinner does on a regular basis, I think it takes a few games in a row and not just winning, but being a big part, making key saves in crucial times. That's what really gets you in the groove.
See, I think, guys, like, here's my thing. I'm going to take it a little bit further, Gage. I think it can have more of an impact because it was a shutout. And I would equate it to like a guy that's on a goal scoring drought that hasn't scored in a while and then finally scores, like just mentally that big sigh of relief. I think it's almost the same thing. Like if it was a win and they won 3-2 and he played pretty good, but he still let in 2 goals, I would agree with you completely, Gage, and that it's like, okay, he needs some more games. But I think for a guy like Campbell, who has struggled as much as him, to get a shutout, and it doesn't matter who it was against, but to get a shutout, I think is just it's like going from scoring no goals to having a hat trick in a game where you've been drought ridden and all of a sudden you pop a whole bunch and then you're just, you can look to the future instead of looking back. Like you're not looking back to all the struggles you had. You're like, no, I feel good now. Just a big mental step. So I mean, we'll obviously have to see if that's the case, but I would wager that this could be something that completely snaps him out of it.
I agree a little bit with you. Most shutouts, though, Cass, is usually the other team sucks.
Well,
like that's what happens. That's how you get a shutout, because the other team's just
with the exception of Skinner, obviously 2 games ago. Yeah,
with the exception of Skinner, that's when it means a lot, right? So
yeah,
I mean,
that's fair. I don't know. I'm just trying to be an optimist.
Well, just look at your example with scoring a goal. If it's a guy that hasn't scored and he scores the winner with a minute left to win 3-2. Or is a 6-0, he scores the empty netter. Is that what's gonna make him feel better?
Yeah, that's fair.
A bigger part of the game, or I mean, I wouldn't care. I would be riding the stick on the empty netter. That'd be great.
Yeah, doing the slide. Who was that the other day that did that? I was watching.
Pizzetta or whatever.
That was against the Habs in the shootout. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. All right, the other thing coming out of that game, Leon Draisaitl, not 1, not 2, but 3, the hat trick to get to 50 goals. His third 50-goal season. He had 55 last year. Might get close to that again. They got 5 games left here. His 4th 100-point season. The best passer in the league is now also the only guy to have 3 50-goal seasons since he came into the league, which is just ridiculous. But, you'll see these lists pop up, and it's like, top 10, top 20, however it works. And McDavid's always number 1, but Leon's never number 2. But guys, I mean, I think outside of this market, and this might come across as a major homer Edmonton guy, but no player since he came into the league has scored 50 goals 3 times. No player has put up 100 points on top of the 350-goal seasons 4 times. He's won a Hart. He's won an Hart Ross. He's won a Lindsay. He's put up monster numbers in the playoffs playing on one leg. He kills penalties for this team. I honestly don't know how you make a case against this guy maybe being the best player in the league, not named Connor McDavid.
Well, he plays with Connor McDavid. That's where people are going to make the case, right? They're going to say, even for the goals, like how many of those are on the power play? A lot of them are on the power
30
play.
of them this year. Yes.
Yep. And their power play is so good because of the level of threats that they have, because of Connor McDavid. And Leon's such a huge part of that. But that's what people are going to look at, and that's what they're going to say. Like they're going to go, you know what? He's really good, but he's got Connor. And that's where people would.
He won the Hart though the year that Connor missed like 19 games.
I'm not arguing.
Yeah, I know you are
arguing this. I'm not saying. I'm just trying to say like that's where other people would go with it. And I can understand that to a certain extent. And I mean, guys, I still wouldn't have him as a number 2 player in the league. Right now, is he top 5? Absolutely.
Well,
absolutely.
He has to be top 5.
He has to be. And
yeah.
I still slot McKinnon in at number 2. Like he's right there. I mean, you could probably this season right now, the way he's playing, I'd kind of go, yeah, he's probably number 3. He's right there, but people are going to look at Connor and they're going to devalue Leon a little bit because of it.
Yeah, he should ask
Gage,
for
where
a
do you come
trade.
out on this?
He should ask for a trade. Be his own man. Break out from that shadow. No, it's funny. Yeah, I saw something fun, and I love Craig Button. Like I love hearing him and talk. I think he has some really good points. But
He's very opinionated. I love his fire. Right, like he's good.
it's
Yeah.
great. But he had his little EA Sports statistics of Leon Draisaitl, and he had like passing 5, IQ 5, shot 3. And I was like, "Are you? This guy scored 50 goals, and
3
he's out of
times.
5. Yeah, 3 times, and you have his shot at a 3. He's beating goalies from the tops of the circles with a wrist shot. Like it's a little bit better than that, Craig. And Leon, we've said so many unbelievable things, and when it all boils down to it, it's he's a different type of player than Connor McDavid. Like it's not the same. No one's the same as Connor McDavid, but I don't get why people don't say that. It takes, not anyone can play with Connor McDavid, or else it wouldn't matter who he played with to have success. It takes special people to play with special players to have that type of success that Leon's had. And I'm not saying that Leon's not benefiting from playing with Connor, because essentially Leon's finally started playing with a guy that was able to pass the puck just as good as he can. And that allowed him to develop this ridiculous place on the power play to shoot the puck and score goals. Like, he became a shooter when he got to the NHL, which is, these guys that are improving their game once they get to the NHL and adding tools, is it boggles my mind that they can actually do things like this. So Leon's, it's tough with that McKinnon reference, I see it, but he's definitely 3.
Well, even McKinnon's never had a 100-point season, and he's never scored 50 goals. Leon's done one thing 4 times, and the other thing 3 times, which is insane. Can you imagine if Austin Matthews had 3 50-goal seasons and 4 100-point seasons instead of one of each? Like, can you imagine? You know what that is? Then all of a sudden he's just as good as Connor, right? Like, it's I don't know. I just feel like Draisaitl sort of, people don't realize the damage that he does, and I don't think you can, or you shouldn't penalize somebody for being part of the greatest power play of all time either, right? Like, there's a reason the power play's so good. It's because it's got Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl on it, right? Like, and the Nuge. So,
Definitely.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. He was great in the playoffs last year too, which was big. Okay, I had this discussion on my show today. I wanted your guys' thoughts on this. So last year, the Oilers made the conference finals. If they make it back there this year, Cass, and lose again, would you be disappointed overall in the season? Like, it's still a really good year, but I mean, where do you come out on it if they get back to where they like? Do they have to advance to the Cup final this year for us to view it as like, yes, like, great season for this team? Like,
no, I don't think so. I would be sad. I'd be disappointed isn't the right word. Like, I'd be sad, but I wouldn't view it as being like a letdown or a disappointment to the season. I mean, just a couple of months ago, we were worried about them making the playoffs when they were struggling. And we were worried about, well, is this a team that's going to be able to do damage in the playoffs? And it's still going to be a challenge. I mean, it's going to be a challenge for them to get there. They're going to have to play some really good hockey. And if they made it to the conference finals, I think if they got swept, then you'd look at it and you go, or they got just beat down like 4-1 or something. Like, if they didn't make a series out of it, then maybe you'd kind of go, this is a little disappointing. But with, I think, the changes to the roster, you've improved your defense, you've got Ekholm. I think you're more playoff ready than you were last year in terms of the overall group. You know, if Stuart Skinner plays like he did against LA, you've got some goaltending there potentially. And I wouldn't be disappointed. I would be sad, but not disappointed.
what if they didn't get out of the second round?
I'd be disappointed.
Yeah, if this team doesn't make it as far as last year's team did, like,
yep,
yeah,
I think
they're
it'd be
better
fair to be
and they're
disappointed,
healthier,
yeah.
right? So, and there's no monster in the West like Colorado, but there's some good teams in the West, and we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
Gager,
I still
where do you
think
come out on
Colorado's
this?
a monster.
it's a tough question because realistically, they could be out in the first round to a really good team that could go on to the finals, right? So it's tough to consider it a success. I think my bar would have to be making the Western Conference final again. If they do that again, considering the opposition that they'll probably have to face, that's quite an accomplishment. If I'm thinking second round, they go to 7 games and lose, am I still disappointed, or am I Cassian
I think in the
sad?
moment you would be. I think in the moment you will be.
I think I'm Cassian sad at that point, though, Dusty. I think I'm Cass and I are drowning some tears over barbecue at that point.
You can't be crying when you're having barbecue. There's always got to be just smiles there. Okay, so let's just look at the 6 top teams in the West then. Okay, and I think all of them would have, I'll just give you the team. And, on it, let's play this game. On a scale of 1 to 5, how much of a legitimate, true contender for the Stanley Cup do you think they are? Let's just start with the Edmonton Oilers. That's the easy one. Cass, Edmonton Oilers on a scale of 1 to 5, true legitimate contender.
5 being contender, 1 being not contender.
Yeah.
I'd put them at a 4. I'd put them at a 4. I think they're a true contender to come out of the West. Would be tough for them unless the East absolutely, just destroys each other. There's just such good teams out there, but they have a shot. So yeah, I'd have them at a 4.
Gager?
No, 5.
So
they can win.
100% locked in, true legitimate Stanley Cup contender. Yeah,
and won.
They did.
They've showed some unbelievable determination over the past month against really good teams, and it for the first time, like, it was funny kind of watching the games and like, are they really for real? Like, if I try to step back out of Edmonton Oilers shoes and put on a regular league shoes and look at them, and I'm like, yeah, man, that's scary. I think I referred to them on Oilers Plus as the power play, at least, as the Baba Yaga of the league.
John Wick reference, yeah. Yeah, no, that's good. All right. Los Angeles Kings on a scale of 1 to 5, true legitimate contender. Gage, you go first, buddy.
Gosh, I say 4, just because of the scoring could be that's their biggest Achilles heel, I think, is the scoring. What Korpisalo does when what he has been doing is impressive and kind of scary a little bit, what he might be able to accomplish in the playoffs. But just because they don't have the firepower that the Oilers have, I think that they're a 4.
Cass, Kings.
3.5.
3.5. Okay.
If we can do half.
So slightly less. Yeah, you can do half. So you can do 3.7 if you want. It doesn't matter to me. So slightly below where the Edmonton.
Okay. 3.5.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Because of the scoring. That would be my question, is the scoring depth. If everything went right for them, could they win? Yep. Are they good in tight games? Yep. Do I think they have the firepower to do it yet? No.
Yeah. Might be a little hit and miss. But I guess, Kempe's a good player. Fiala's a good offensive player. They've taken some steps.
They have a great power play.
They just, second best power play in the league, at least when it, like late last week. All right, Golden Knights. Where are you at on Golden Knights, Cass?
4. Yep, I'd have them at a 4.
So you like the Golden Knights more of a contender than the Kings?
I think so. Yep.
Okay.
I think so. I mean, not having Stone obviously hurts them. Goaltending is their question. But I think they still have a little bit more of an offensive punch or punch potential than the LA Kings, which to me, you need to score goals. You need to play defense too, but I think Vegas can do that. So if the goaltending works itself out, I would have them at a 4. Yeah.
Gager?
I got them at a 3. They I don't trust the goaltending with them. And you got to remember, this is Jack Eichel's first trip to the postseason too, right? So,
I'm not worried about that. He's their game breaker. I mean, that's he. Not to take anything away from Kopitar, because Kopitar is an unbelievable player, but to me, Eichel's a game breaker. Like he can win you a game. Not that Kopitar couldn't, but yeah, I don't think the not playing in the playoffs and not playing with that pressure. Like Eichel to me isn't the style of player where it's like someone's going to get physical and he's going to disappear.
You don't think so? You don't know that yet, though, Kat.
No, that's true.
In the playoffs, he hasn't played against
that's true.
one guy in a 7-game series at the NHL level yet. So and I'm not saying he can't. I just saying I've never seen it yet. So,
all right, over to the other side, Colorado Avalanche. Cash, you got them a 5 out of 5.
5 out of 5. Yeah. Health is going to be their big thing, but they're continuing to get more and more healthy. But yeah, no, they're a 5 for me. Still, I would say the leading contender out of the West.
Gager?
Yeah, 5. This is where the second best player in the league kind of comes into play, or 1A. But you just can't. With Cale Makar, it's just a different animal to have to deal with on a regular basis. And we saw what he did in the playoffs last year. It's just with him, it's a 5 for sure.
All right, so 2 5 out of 5s. I'm keeping I'm tabulating all this in my head as we work our way through it. We'll build our list of power rankings as we do. Dallas Stars, they got the goalie. We know they got a goalie, Gager. Where do you go, buddy? What do you think? 4 out of 5, 3 out of 5, 5 out of 5?
I would go with a 4, solid 4. They're good. They're just a good all-around team. Play physical, very balanced throughout. They have the D-man that's tough to defend. They're going to be a tough out. A 4 for sure.
Cass?
I got them as a 5 too.
Oh, wow.
I got them as a 5 too. Yep. And my reasoning is this: is you got the goaltender, you have the defender that can play half the game, and you have some game-breaking offense, and you have depth up front. So it's like you have depth, you have the goal scoring, you have the defense, you have the goaltender. So to me, they're right up there as far as contenders. I'd have them right up there with Colorado.
All right, then where are we at on Minnesota? Final one. Former member of the Wild. Want to go first here, or what do you think?
I'm gonna go 3 because Krill the Thrill, whatever.
Yeah.
If he doesn't come back, I don't give them any shot.
And if they've been playing good without him, though,
they need to score. It's different animal. And Fleury, I don't trust him.
I think Gustafsson might be their guy. He's been unreal this year. Like he might be. They might give Fleury the old courtesy start at the beginning, but you cannot not play
Short
that
leash.
guy because he's been outstanding. So yeah, short leash maybe on Fleury. Cass, where do you come out on the Wild?
3.5. Come right in that LA. I think they have the potential to be a good team. They've had a good run. They've got some good goaltending. I still have some questions on depth. Like if Kaprizov can't generate, if their top guys kind of go head to head with other top guys, are they going to be able to, on a night by night basis, are they going to be able to push deep? I don't know. Yeah, I'd have them at 3.5.
All right, so then tabulating both your guys' power, here's what we've got. It would be Colorado at the top as far as power rankings of legit contenders go. Edmonton and Dallas tied in that second spot with 9 of a possible 10 points. Then the Kings, Vegas, and Minnesota to round it out. And I know we kind of got there in a roundabout way, but I think I 100% agree with that list. Although I don't know enough about Dallas. We know who the Kings are. I'm interested to see how Dallas and Los Angeles both do in the postseason. One more before we wrap, sticking with the West. And maybe we'll do the East on Thursday as well. But twice now, in the past 3 shows, I've had guys refer to the Calgary Flames as that team that you just might not want to face in the playoffs. And I'm sorry, I just can't buy into that with the way the game is played nowadays. I think the Flames, especially if it's a Battle of Alberta in the first round, max 6 games. I think the Oilers just take it to them. Do either of you guys view the Calgary Flames this year as a team that if they get into the playoffs, you want to avoid them?
I think avoid is a tough phrase. I don't think that, but I would. They give me pause for sure. A team that's battled through that much all year, and absolutely no expectations of any sort of progression through the playoffs. They're playing with house money at that point, Dusty, and that would, to me, the Calgary Flames could be a dangerous team at that point. And if Markstrom somehow gets his game, like he had a great game against the Kings the other night, so if he rounds into form and they do wind up locking that down, they're not an easy out. I'll say that. We've talked about the way they play. They play a playoff style that's not really this year, but I just think that the relief of getting to the playoffs and the no expectations at that point makes them more dangerous than you think they actually are.
I mean, this could all be a moot point. They still got to get there, and they don't have very many games
to get in. Yeah.
I don't think they'd be an easy out. But and I would have concerns about, like, for the Calgary Flames, about Sutter playing guys on off wings and doing weird things and not playing his best players. And so I don't know. You get the pause, but anyone gives you a pause if they're in the playoffs. Like, there's no easy outs. I'm not at the level of being like, watch out for the Flames. I mean, I think you got to still play your game, but no, I'm not there yet. But they're not even, I mean, it's almost a moot point until they're actually in.
Hey, I got a huge game against Winnipeg on Wednesday, which we can break down on Thursday's episode here of Two Guys and a Goalie. As the push to the playoffs continues, as always, with Cool Bet. Stay cool and bet responsibly with our partners over at Cool Bet. That's going to do it for another episode of Two Guys and a Goalie with Nielsen, Casa, and Gager. Boys, we'll talk to you on Thursday.
Awesome. Can't wait.
Bye.